What's up, guys? Welcome back. So I'm not gonna lie, this is gonna be kind of an all over the place video today. I guess more of kind of like a vlog mixed with doing random tiny things in the car. Don't really have anything in particular I have to get done in order to keep the build going, like installing a certain part or putting the turbo back in. But I do have to do a bunch of little things, unfortunately, to keep this build going so that I can put the bigger pieces back on. But without any further ado, why don't we jump over here, take a look at the car and kind of just see how it is as it sits. Okay, so not much has really changed. Last thing we did was install the intake manifold, got that all set up. The next step that I am going to try to do, I did borrow a steam cleaner. So I'm going to go ahead, it's hard to see, I'm just going to get my light. So you can sort of see down here, it's just like looking a little crappy, a little cruddy. So I am going to go through and try to get some of this grease off of here in order to be able to just make the engine look a little cleaner. So I guess the whole point of it is just to have the car look not like it's 20 years old at this point, have the motor looking a little more fresh. So I'm going to do that, but before that, one of the other things that I do have to do in order to get the build continuing is extract some bolts that I've broken in the past. It's very unfortunate, something that'll happen on Evos, everyone knows that, but these bolts do have to come back out. I have one in the thermostat housing that bolts from like the where the elbow for the coolant housing bolts to the thermostat housing. One of them broke off in there, got to take that out. Got to take a bolt out of the O2 housing on the turbo. So just a couple of things I got to do. So in that case, we're going to head to our favorite parts store, Harbor Freight. So let's jump on that first. Motherland.
On State Route 101 East for 4 miles.
Okay, and just like that, we're back in the garage. Thanks for coming along on the trip. It was a fun little ride up to New Hampshire to get these bolt extractors, but here's the set we're working with. So it's nothing crazy, it's just a 25-piece set. Comes in like every size you could possibly need, but the good thing about it is that it does seem like it's sockets, so that it actually goes onto an impact and not just onto like in a drill, where the drill kind of would stall. The impact, hopefully, we'll be able to take these out. So I figured, why don't we go ahead and try and start with the hardest thing first, and let's get to extracting these bolts, since cleaning an engine is a lot easier. So this is the set. It's got a million different sizes, which is really cool. Well, 25 to be exact. We, for the thermostat housing, needed to get this smallest guy. The way that it works is you will take it out. As you can see, it's not a socket itself, but it does fit in a socket. So in our instance, this was a 13 millimeter socket. So I'm going to attach this to my impact. So what I am going to do is I'm going to first hammer this guy into the strip bolt after I heat it up with like a good amount of heat with a torch. Hopefully that'll break it loose. This does have some wax in it from a crayon that I melted in there. Supposedly that works even better than penetrant for removing broken off bolts. Once that's hammered in, I will go ahead and put this 13 mil on the impact, put it on, and then hopefully be able to take it out. We'll see. So obviously got to be pretty careful with this. since you don't want to burn yourself. So, I mean, even like over here where I wasn't hitting, it's starting to get hot. So I'm gonna try my best to tap this guy in without destroying my hands. All right, give it my best shot. No, so that one is obviously too small. I have to go for the next size up. This guy almost seemed a little too big though. So I guess we'll see what we can do. So the impact was seeming like it was a bit too strong. It was actually like more so rounding inside the hole. So I'm gonna try to use just a wrench, see if it can grip it a little bit better. But honestly, what I'm having trouble with is this little guy is now too small, and the next step up is just too big. So I do have it in the bottom of the hole. Who knows if it's actually gonna come out or not. I feel like I kind of want to hit it with some more heat, but at the same time, I also have to work there, so I don't want to overheat my new extractor piece, and I don't want to heat up too much where I'm trying to extract from. The bottom side is like a little bit messed up and very open, just from like hammering bits and stuff into it. So I'm hoping that if I try to thread it out backwards, it will be able to clear, but I guess we'll find out. It's obviously moving, but I feel like it's just the extractor that's moving, not actually like the bolt. Okay, so not gonna lie, not working very well at all. The extractor bits aren't actually catching the bolt. So you know what? I just realized now I cracked this housing, so now I do have to buy a new one. So cool, that's where I'm at. Okay, so obviously this didn't go the way I planned. The bolt wouldn't extract. It, for some reason, was like super stuck in there. I don't know if it's cross-threaded, but at some point in, I think, hammering in the extractor bit, I do believe that's when the housing itself actually cracked. So let me show you how it looks now. So here's my guy. You can see, if I can get this to focus, God, it'll never focus. The threads are like, they look really rusty. I started just drilling it out at a certain point. I decided I wasn't going to continue on trying to extract it. I was like, screw it. I'm just gonna drill the thing completely out and I'll just retap it. I hadn't noticed the crack there yet, and then you guys saw it did just crack right off. So it's whatever. Honestly, it just happens sometimes, I guess. But so this is my guy. Did finally get him out. I mean, at one point it was a bolt. Now it's just this. It almost looks like a time cert or like a helicoil at this point, because it's like completely empty on the inside. Now it's just threads. There definitely was some rust in the housing. I don't know if that caused it. I don't know if it really was like cross-threaded at all. It's really hard to tell because it's super mangled at this point. But I guess I will go on, probably jump onto STM or wherever I can find maybe the cheapest one, and just try to get a brand new housing. So with that though, let's jump on to the next one we're gonna try to extract. So I don't know if anyone remembers, this is the bolt, but as you can see, there's a broken extractor bit in there, because that's what happens when you try to take any bolt out on an Evo. So I'm gonna have to try to hammer this guy out with, I guess, like a pick, but in the wrong direction of which it's supposed to be extracting. So I can try and knock that out. If not, I guess I can try to heat it up like crazy and then maybe drill through it. But I mean, these things are made of, it's funny, they're made to be hardened metal, but they're so hard when you try to drill them out, but when you try to use them, they just snap instantly. It's like torque does it and it breaks it, but the metal itself is hard against like abrasion of sorts. So I guess I'll try the heat method first. So obviously I can't touch it. So it looks like it is working with the heat. So I guess I'll just keep trying my luck. The only problem is when I'm trying to drill back towards the center because I don't want to go too far like towards the side. I want the hole that I'm going to put the bit into in the center. So I'm trying to go kind of at an angle. Alright, so I mean it is coming out, so I'm hoping I'm going to hit it with heat again, and we'll see. Hopefully I'll be able to drill that out, and then maybe, who knows, maybe extract it. And who knows, maybe with all this heat, maybe it'll help loosen the bolt, so if I can try to extract it, maybe it'll actually come out. So it is starting to come out, which is amazing for me. It's weird like how far in it actually was. So I'm just gonna keep on drilling. I mean, it is kind of cool with all these metal pieces. When I light it, it sparks. But yeah, I mean, I'm making definitely progress. So I'm gonna keep drilling down, hopefully try to center it a little more. And then who knows, heat it like crazy, maybe we'll be able to get it out. So as you may have seen in the time lapse, I did break another extractor bit off. I was able to luckily drill out the last bit that broke in there, and then I got a nice hole. I tapped in with a hammer the extractor bit. Didn't even use an impact, just used like a wrench. Didn't even use a lot of torque, and it snapped off in there. So I'm probably gonna end this for today right here. I will not end the video. I'm gonna pick up another day this week before I throw this turbo against the wall and roll this car off my retaining wall. Because I'm honestly getting just a little bit tired of trying to extract these bolts and doing the right steps. I'm doing the heat, doing wax, penetrant, drilling a nice straight hole into the bolt, using an extractor bit, and they just keep breaking and refusing to be able to come out. So this is what this one looks like. So this is what I'm working with. Like I said, I did drill a nice hole. It did get the extractor bit in there just fine. And then for some reason, they keep wanting to break off. Because these bolts just apparently are rusted in there with like the power of like, I don't know, 1,000 nuclear reactors. So I'm gonna leave this one for right now before I get too angry at it. Okay, and I'm back. It's the next day. It is really early in the morning. If you can't tell from the bags under my eyes. I did have to try to get some things done today early in the morning because I don't have a lot of time this week. So I did decide I'm gonna give the bolts that break extractor bits just a break for a second so I can at least feel like I got something done. So we are gonna jump on trying to steam clean some of the parts on this engine. Okay, so the steam is ready. Just obviously gonna try to stay away from electrical connectors as best I can without damaging them. And then obviously we are going to go ahead and try to, dry the engine up after, make sure that we don't leave things wet so they can rust more. So let's try and do it. So I did go ahead and put a mat under it just in case it does work as well as I'm hoping it'll work. At least all that grease and stuff will just fall onto the mat and on the floor. So I guess this is like the preferred method. A lot of engine builders will use people who restore like old motors and try to clean it all back up. So I guess we'll put it to the test and see if it's going to work or not. Probably just set the camera up and we'll see what we can capture. It's kind of coming out like a lot of water. I mean, there is steam, obviously, you can see, but a lot of it seems to be water. And I guess it is coming out as steam, but it's not really like working like I was hoping it would work, I guess. I'm also trying to make sure I don't hit it where it's gonna like shoot back at me and destroy me. But I guess I could also use paper towels to kind of try to wipe it off. Okay, so here's where we're at. I did a little bit more cleaning after the time lapse. It's like working, but honestly the steam isn't working exactly how I thought it was gonna work. I kind of thought it was just gonna like blast it off. It's really not. It's taking a lot more scrubbing and degreaser, if anything, but I guess if anything it's loosening it, which makes the degreaser work a little bit better. So I did take off some of the wires from the grounding point for the starter so I can clean up the rest of it, get this little under tray all done. But yeah, definitely not working how I thought it was gonna work. All right, so pretty much done cleaning for this morning. It didn't really get as much done as I thought it was going to with the steam gun, but I will say there is something interesting that I noticed. Over my years of working in kitchens and stuff, you see obviously a lot of clogged drains, and I've always heard that cast iron pipes will cling on to grease more than like a silicone or like a PVC pipe that you'd have in your own house. And I always kind of thought that was sort of like weird, but now that I'm doing it here, let me show you. So the Evo block is cast iron, and I could tell that trying to clean in here in these crevices and stuff, it definitely was harder to get grease off of here, especially with the steam gun. Whereas down here, for this brace, I think it's like either stainless steel or aluminum. I think it's aluminum, but I was able to spray the grease right off of there with the steam gun with like no problem. It's just interesting to see that for some reason iron holds on to grease a lot more. So I did go through, take off the ground strap like I had said, took off this connector, moved it out of the way, was able to clean the starter up pretty well, but did a couple of things that I did notice while doing this. This right here is usually covered by a plate. I did take the plate off in order to clean. Did notice this very sketchy looking weld here that obviously someone's broken this mount in the past. Like I said, it's covered by a shield, so that's why I never noticed that before. And then I have been getting some like kind of intermittent like oil pooling over here. Wasn't really sure where it was coming from. I thought it might have been coming from this oil feed line, or I think it's, yeah, the feed for the turbo. I think it's possible it's coming from here where this backing plate on the transmission meets the actual block. I feel like there maybe should be a seal in here or something, so I do think I might be getting some transmission oil coming out of there and going down onto all this stuff. But I guess that's something I'll have to figure out in the future. So I do now get to go ahead and wait for my kids to wake up so I can turn my air compressor on, and I'll be able to blow out any existing water that's left from the steamer, which I'm sure my neighbors, they're gonna love it. But with that, that's pretty much all I got for this one. I know it was not an interesting video. And it wasn't really a fun video for me to make either, considering all the breaking of bolts and housings and extractor bits. And that's really like the not fun part of working on cars, but what can you do? Happens to all of us. I am gonna go ahead and get a thermostat housing ordered, but I am looking to find some, like a store or an online outlet that does have the housing and the bolt that I obviously can't use now because it's like shredded. So I'm gonna go ahead, take this week, try to go ahead and get that ordered, and hopefully with that we'll be able to keep moving on with the build. But until the next one, if you guys like the content, go ahead, subscribe, like, comment, do all that stuff, and I guess until the next time, see you guys later. Peace out. Keep wrenching. And so I do now go ahead and get the. So I do now go ahead. You.